Hey guys, and welcome to Castle's Corner. I'm Coach Castle, and today I'm going to be explaining triceps, how to maximize them, what they do, how they do it, etc. If you haven't already seen this video, check out the video I just did 2 days ago about how to maximize your biceps, where I'm going to be going through a lot of the same concepts I discussed in this video. However, I'm getting into some new ones. Obviously, it's a new muscle group. So today, triceps. Let's talk about it. For starters, tricep takes up most of the meat of your arm. So if you have a skinny looking arm, you either have a weak tricep, you have an underdeveloped tricep, or you have a tricep which is primarily fast twitch muscle fibers which don't get very big, or perhaps you could have a long muscle insertion. All of these are kind of due to individual morphology and your genetics, what kind of muscle fibers you have in that particular muscle, how much you've trained them, how you've trained them, what you've trained them for, etc. So obviously, bodybuilders of all types, they want the big meaty triceps, they want that horseshoe. Doesn't matter if you're a professional Olympian or you're a regular old bodybuilder or you're just somebody who wants to have correct balance between bicep and tricep. It's very important to know these things. So, like with every other muscle on your body, each muscle group basically just has one perfect movement pattern with what is known as the correct resistance curve, which is what I'm going to be getting into today, and I'm going to be explaining it a different way than I typically do. Without all the fancy visuals and stuff, I might just use one or two, because it is necessary to visualize a little bit of this. So, in recap, let me get a couple toys I brought with me. So, in recap, just like the bicep, we got the arm. We got the upper arm bone. We got the two lower arm bones, which kind of function as a unit, so just consider it to be one lever. And we got the wrist and hand, etc., the fist. Now this one is modeled after my own arm. As you can see, same joints and everything else, etc. This is what they would look like if you're just looking at the bones inside of the arm, upper lever, two lower levers, which function as one essentially, and the wrist. Now for the bicep, it does matter what happens with these two bones if they rotate or not, and if they do rotate, you get a full contraction at the top of the bicep. You get a full contraction, basically. You've contracted everything as much as you contract the bicep. Whereas if you lift your bicep without actually fully contracting, or without twisting, you don't get the same peak, you don't get the same full contraction. As addressed in that video, the bicep starts up here. Very important to notice it has an origin point, which is just basically one origin point, even though it connects in two places. It's essentially just one origin point. Same thing with insertion, it connects on both bones, but it's basically, for all intents and purposes, just one insertion point. This functions by the muscle group crossing over the hinge or the joint and pulling the lower arm up. Now, something to address in regards to triceps, biceps, and every other muscle in your body is lever magnification. So the weight that you are holding in your hand or is at the end of your leg or whatever have you is not the weight that your muscle is lifting. That is a different thing than the load your muscle is experiencing, and this is where lever magnification comes into play. So to highlight this example, just a ridiculous way so everybody understands it, if you're doing bicep curls, and I promise we're going to get to triceps in a second. If you're doing bicep curls, what's happening is these muscle fibers are being pulled towards one another via muscle sliding theory, which is why your bicep literally bunches up in the middle as opposed to bunching up here. Because the muscle fibers are being pulled towards one another via a chemical process. So that's what happens when you do a bicep curl. Now, if, let's just say you're a normal human being with a fully functional arm and hand, you're doing bicep curls, there will be about a 12-inch lever point between where the muscle connects to the arm and where the weight is actually held at the end of the lever. Now this point changes throughout the exercise. If you were to imagine a pendulum hanging from this point here, when you're holding your arm here, neutral, no load is upon the bicep until you take the lower arm outside of parallel with gravity and you add a slight angle to it. As soon as you add that slight bend, the bicep is put under strain, the bicep is contracting the muscle to cause that to happen, etc. If again you have a normal arm, it's a 12-inch lever. If you're holding a 10-pound dumbbell, at this position, or where it's a 100% active lever, the dumbbell is as far from your body as it can possibly be. This lever is as long as it could possibly be. And that 10 pounds you're holding in your hand is now being multiplied by 12 inches and delivering approximately 120 pounds of load to the bicep in this particular position. As you go up, this lever distance is shortening. As you come closer to a contraction, the muscle naturally gets weaker, which is to be expected, because it is contracting and has now reached its full ability to contract. It can contract no more. Hope that makes sense. Now let's just say this guy suffers a terrible accident. A shark bites off his arm and he's just got a nub at this point. And he's got a hook now, like Captain Hook. The hook ends here, and he attaches the dumbbell to this point, the 10 pounds. Now, when he does a bicep curl with 10 pounds, it's a 6-inch lever. His bicep is only receiving 60 pounds of load in this position, as opposed to 120, because it is a shorter lever. If he wants the same effect, he's going to need to get a 20-pound dumbbell because the lever is half the size. Now this is critical to understand because it involves angles, the resistance curve, and each muscle having one best movement pattern. So that's what we're going to primarily be talking about today. So now let's get into the tricep. The bicep, that's how it does. A muscle can only pull towards its origin point or towards its insertion point. It can only contract in a straight line. It cannot do anything else except pull in a straight line. Anything outside of that straight line will be a different muscle group. Now, when your bicep is activated, your tricep, by necessity, is turned off neurologically. This is something called reciprocal inhibition. The reason for this neurological phenomenon is obvious. If your bicep is functioning and your tricep is also functioning, your arm is not going to be going anywhere. It's just going to be shaking in the middle there. We don't want that. We want a bicep contraction, so the brain turns the tricep off. Now, tricep is the opposite or opposing muscle group of the bicep. Bicep lifts this guy up. The tricep connects back here, and it pulls it back down. That's why you get a full contraction. When you flex in this position, that's the tricep fully flexed, just like this is the bicep fully flexed. You get the idea. Now, let's talk about optimum resistance curve and how to find it. So as we've already addressed, gravity goes straight down. When you're using a dumbbell, you are dealing with gravity directly, an invisible line of force, which runs, perpendicular to the ground, essentially. When you're dealing with cables, you're dealing with a visual representation of gravity. Again, watch the bicep video if you're not sure what I'm talking about. But the tricep. How do we know the proper resistance curve for the tricep? Well, it is the same as every other muscle group on your body. It needs to start with maximum load at the bottom, maximum tension in the neutral position. Then it needs to go up through a resistance curve. At the midway portion of that resistance curve, or the part of the movement, like literally halfway through the movement, that lever should be perpendicular with gravity or the source of resistance, one or the other. Then, at the fully concluded part, there should be less resistance upon the muscle. This is the natural resistance curve. This is easy to see with the bicep. As I've been demonstrating, it starts here, neutral position, the weight is held here. As soon as you begin the movement, it gets harder, 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 harder. Hardest, easier, 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 easier. Now, there's two things to know here, which I'm not going to get too much into today. I have a lot of videos about this, but suffice to say that this is when it requires 9 times more force to initiate the movement, which is necessary for the muscle. This is when it's strongest. So this is when it should be used the most. Now the easiest way to demonstrate this is to imagine, I'll put some pictures on the screen now for this. Imagine you're a man at the edge of a cliff, and you tie a rope around the base of a tree. Then a storm comes along, just like the hurricane we just experienced, and the tree falls over the edge of a cliff and is only dangling by its roots. Now it is upside down, the branches are facing down, you still got that rope, and it's still around the base of the tree. When you begin pulling on that rope, that is the ultimate, most difficult position to begin uprighting the tree. Once it gets to the halfway point, it's the furthest it's going to be, but it's not the hardest it's going to be. It's not quite the hardest it's going to be. As it gets closer to being upright again, like a normal tree, it'll be a lot easier for you to pull the rope. Again, you'll see the images in a minute. So that's the resistance curve, and it can be applied to all muscle groups. So now let's just take a look at the tricep with a dumbbell. When I'm using a dumbbell with a tricep, I certainly don't go like this. Why not? Because that is obviously my bicep functioning, it's not my tricep. That's because gravity pushes straight down. So, up, down, we know that's the bicep, we can feel it in the bicep, it's the bicep. You would never consider that to be a tricep move, obviously because of gravity. However, how about if I take the tricep, or the arm I should say, and I put it overhead like this? Most people would agree that this is a tricep move. Most people would say, yeah, that feels like the tricep. And it is the tricep. However, it's not the perfect resistance curve for the tricep. There's a lot of moves you will see people do for their triceps which are effective tricep moves, but they're not the most effective. The most effective would be inside of the correct resistance curve, as was just previously addressed. So, let's say, for example, I was to invert myself, and we'll look at the natural line of evolution of what has been created to train the tricep. Now, it hasn't been created for you to be upside down working the tricep, but it's an easy and ridiculous way to illustrate the point. So, hanging upside down, and I was to do this, it actually feels exactly like the tricep or the bicep would if I was inverted. So, that is actually, evolutionary-wise, a good tricep move. Not necessarily the most comfortable, I don't expect people to do that, but here's the cool thing, we have cables and can redirect gravity. So let me show you what it will look like with cables, and with dumbbells, and with body weight now, in that order. Checking yourself to make sure that at the conclusion of the movement, when the tricep is fully flexed, the cable is on your shoulder. Back it up from there to the start of the movement. Now you got the right idea. Now remember, you're redirecting gravity with the cable machine, so it doesn't matter where that attachment is, as long as your body is in the right place, it doesn't matter. I hope that makes sense. Next, you could of course do triceps, the skull crusher version, but that's not quite right. As you'll see, my elbow is far away from my side, and something called passive insufficiency is taking over. By lifting my pelvis in a more athletic position, my upper arm is now next to my side. This is a much more effective skull crusher movement. Now, those are the two dumbbell and cable versions I would recommend. When it comes to body weight, of course, you have all kinds of options. You can do triangle push-ups. You can do tiger push-ups. You can use a bar to make it easier. You can use a wall to make it easier. The function of the triceps is to extend the arm, push it down. If you have the right resistance curve and the right movement, and that's what you're doing with the tricep, you're going to be training the triceps ideally. Using a cable, you can clearly make sure you're doing it perfectly. With dumbbells, you can work on your mobility, your breathing, pelvic floor muscles, and diaphragm while you're training your triceps. Now, it is of course, these are the perfect movements because it's maximally using your lever, targeting only the tricep inside of the perfect resistance curve. There is no better movement for the tricep than this. End of story. So anyways, guys, if you find this content helpful and you haven't already, like, share, subscribe. If anybody's interested in coaching, let me know. You'll find all my details in the description below this video. More than happy to get you a plan, either exercise, nutrition, breathing, neurology, psychology. If you haven't already, check out any of my 9 books you'll find on Amazon. Just type in Coach Castle. And subscribe to my Instagram, Facebook, same thing, just Coach Castle. Everybody have a great day, and let me know what you'd like to see next.